Hello, my name is Cora Hatfield, and today I'm going to be reading Outside Your Window by Nicola Davies, illustrated by Mark Carroll. Now let's get started. Autumn. Autumn is exciting. Trees turn flame-colored and the wind makes a whirligig of fiery leaves. Birds feast on berries and the first frost sprinkles spiderwebs with diamonds. Wind. What drives the storm clouds over the sky? What bends the trees and breaks their branches? What snatches your hat and makes your coat flap? What ripples the pond and ruffles the grass? What brushes your cheek soft as a kiss? Whisper it, wind, wind, wind. Leaves. Under people's feet on paths and sidewalks, floating on a pond, leaves are everywhere in mounds and drifts so deep you can wade through them. Kick swirls of red, yellow, brown, and orange into the frosty air. Geese. High up above the roads and the houses, geese are flying. They make up a wobbly arrow in the sky. They're going somewhere warmer, and when they're gone, you know that winter's on its way. Spiderlings. What's left the sea of silver that shines and shakes, as if the breeze was ruffling the surface of a lake? It's simply spider silk, a million tiny strings, the silken parachutes of baby spiderlings. Feather. I found a feather on the ground. It looks so sad and scruffy, split into the spiky barbs. I pulled it tight between my fingers, the way a bird does with its beak. The stringy barb zipped back together to make the feather whole again. Then I swished it through the air. I could feel it trying to fly. Acorn. You must be patient if you plant an acorn. To wait to see the first green shoot, the tiny leaf, then it will grow. But slowly, 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 so slowly you will hardly notice it. By the time you're grown up, it is still be small. For the tree, the years pass as quick as thinking, but for you, the years are slow and hold a life. When you come back, you'll find the tree's like still a youngster, just big enough to give a little shade. You hold your grandchild's hand and say, you must be patient if you plant an acorn. Worms. Sometimes in the rain and dark, worms come up from underground. They seem too small to be important, but watch, the worms are recycling. They pull dead leaves into the barrels for a feast, then poop them out in tiny heaps called casts that turn into a covering of rich new soil. Without worms, there'd be no soil for plants to grow in. There'd be no foods for animals or us to eat. So in the rain and dark, when worms come up from underground, say thank you very quietly for the work they do. Apples. Fresh from the tree, the apple sits in your hand, cool and round, and streaked with the sunset colors. All around you in the orchard there were other apples. Apples grown for juice, Jonathan and Ida Reds. Apples grown for cider, Gravestones and Holmes sweets. Apples grown for pies, Ginger Golds and Northern Spies. But the apple in your hand was grown for eating, Walter Pease or Milo Gibson, Honeycrisp or McIntosh. Bite into its crisp white flesh and taste the sweetness. Squirrel. Squirrels going on a nut hunt, down the tall tree, across the wide lawn, up the slippery pool, along the wobbly wile. Yum! Nuts! Oh no, the gardener's coming. Quick, quick, quick! Along the wire, down the pole, across the lawn, up, up, up into the tree, and safe. Fungi. Pale balls and spotted saucers up on stalks, rubbery frisbees on trunks of trees, gray furry fuzz on fallen leaves, skinny orange fingers poking through the grass. They're not animals and they're not plants. They're something else. They're fungi, toadstools, mushrooms, molds. Here, they've been here all along. They're string-like bodies hidden in the soil, under bark, inside branches. The wet weather's brought them out in these weird shapes, but when they've spread their seeds, as fine as dust, they'll disappear as quietly as they came. The loaf that Jack baked. This is the loaf that Jack baked, warm from the oven. This is the flour all fine and white that was mixed in the bowl to make the loaf that Jack baked. This is the ear of wheat all gold that yielded the grain that was ground to flour to make the loaf that Jack baked. This is the leaf and stalk so green that grew the ear that yielded the grain that was ground to flour to make the loaf that Jack baked. This is the seed all round and ripe that sprouted the stalk that grew the ear that yielded the grain that was ground to flour to make the loaf that Jack baked. This is the man so straight and strong who sowed the seed that sprouted the stalk that grew the ear that yielded the grain that was ground to flour to make the loaf that Jack baked. It's warm from the oven. Eat up. Harvest. The garden has been busy, growing squash, beans, and eggplants, tomatoes, carrots, peas. The tiny seeds planted in the spring have used the sun and rain to soil to make all this. And now it's time for harvest, picking and pulling, washing and chopping, cooking, bottling, and freezing, so that deep in winter there'll be summer food to eat. Berry picking. Let's go berry picking, up the path, over the fence. At first your basket seems too big, and then not big enough for berry picking. Back home we make a great big pie to share our berry picking. Ask an adult to help you make this delicious berry crumble. 5½ cups of berries, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, or a mixture. 3/4 cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of water, 1/2 cup of flour, a pinch of salt, 1/3 cup of butter, 1/3 cup of sugar. Here are the directions. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Wash the berries. Put them in an oven-proof dish layer by layer, sprinkling some of the 3/4 cup of sugar over each layer. Add the water. Measure the flour into a bowl and mix in the salt. Cut the butter into small pieces and mix into the flour. Rub the butter and flour together until the mixture looks like breadcrumbs. Mix in the 1/3 cup of sugar. Spread the crumble mixture over the berries so they are covered. Put the pan in the oven and bake for 45 minutes until the crumble is golden brown. Eat. Yum. I hope all of y'all enjoyed this book. See you next time.